Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to this holy circle of infinite light, divine being, just as we are, perfect, whole, and complete. Jesus is showing me how precious it is just to be light and to not know anything whatsoever. To see that knowing something is really death's door. We can ask him, in the light of divine being and honesty of God, Jesus, is to know something death's doorstep. The desire to experience death. So we had a joining today and someone asked me, well, is this the same as forgiveness? Forgiveness is merely seeing what's true, that nothing's true other than infinite light. Jesus gave forgiveness as a means of looking at things a whole new way, because of the habit of believing that there's only one way to look at things, the ego's way. To see that there's another way of seeing this world, the world of light, the world of infinite. And to see that light is all there is. So we ask him, Jesus, he's here. Look at the beings that are here. You're only here because you hear Jesus. Really. The beings that are called to this light circle hear Jesus clearly. They're just moments, perhaps, when we don't want to hear him or we're not sure we hear him. It's our own voice. The voice that reminds us we have one setting. It's called infinite. We don't have extra dials and whistles. We can check with the light of infinite being. Does the light of infinite being, does it have extra dials and whistles? And it just is. Infinite light. Because of the play in consciousness to say no to light, it feels like there's an object or an other. So every day we join together with the might of the mightiest companions to see what's true together and expresses the divine beings that we are the powerful infinite beings given all by the Father to his Son. We're looking at chapter 12 of A New Covenant. A new covenant is just the means Jesus is using for me. Because every plan for every being is custom to what they need to recognize, and it's perfect for that being because we've called Jesus to help us. And obviously I needed the help of looking really and in a concentrated form at all the denials. And it was just a beautiful means given to be able to look with him so directly and stay out of the story that he's talking about in this chapter. And that's what the beings who are jumping on these calls with us. It's so beautiful to come together in the joining sessions and just hear everyone just having that conversation. Well, Jesus, what about this? And then what about this? What about? It's so simple. It's so helpful. And then after a while you go, why wasn't I listening to this voice before? Well, you can't really ask why. It's not a good reason. It's just now. It's always now. You'll see that in the light of divine being, it's just here. The light's not coming in and whacking us around because we've been pretending not to be light. Does the light just says, come to me and I will give you rest. See that the light, just be with the light of infinite light, because we're so used to identifying with thoughts, feelings, and emotion. This is me. And then trying to prove to the light, Jesus, I'm trying to prove to the light that thoughts and feelings and emotions are real. And hear the answer. Thankfully, the light's not buying that. We're trying to prove it to ourselves when we know it's not true. We're the light. Thankfully, infinite light is unfazed. What we are is unfazed by any thought, feeling, and emotion, any story. See that no story can change infinite light. We just look, because we can look, we can talk to Jesus. Everyone can talk to Jesus. We just like that little, the kerfuffle of all the ideas and thoughts and feelings and problems and the somebody done me wrong song. Consciousness likes to play in innocence. Until we're just willing to say, no, that's not working so good. It's not working. Has any storyline ever really worked? We've all been around the consciousness block a few times. Jesus might even show you a few of those times, but it's not in the past. It's being relived right now. Thank you, Jesus, for reminding me that. The game of pretend not to be the light, to play tag, run around like a little 5-year-old going, you didn't tag me, God. No, you didn't. You know how little kids do? You didn't get me. No, you didn't. And then they have a little argument about who got who. That's the entire play of consciousness. God can never tag me, no matter what. No, it's one big 2-year-old no. I'm not going to be we can ask Jesus. Jesus is the play of consciousness, a one big no to infinite light. He never comes in and tells me something different about that. It's the same every time. The only place that there's any consistency, let's look, in the light of divine being, is there consistency? Does the ego have any we're trying to find, consciousness play is to try to find consistency in the ego. Let's ask Jesus. Jesus, you already know me. I was talking, Kelly, we're having such a great joining today. It's so beautiful. I love the joining. So, and then she goes in the middle of it. Just this question started coming and she said, Jesus didn't even let that question end. He already told me the answer before I could get to the end. He already came in and, and it'll be that fast because we're infinite beings. Does the light hesitate? Let's see. Let's ask the light of divine being. Is there light? See that there's no hesitation. The light is light, and you can just hear it. Light. Am I light? Is the ego true? Can you find a way in the infinite light for ego to be true? That's how quick it is. Now, the consciousness play is like to cover over it, like we don't know it, like we forgot our own voice. That's just a play. The ping pong, trying to tell God, trying to smack that ball. No, I'm not like playing ping pong. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But until we see that we're pretending not to be it, Jesus can't really help us. I mean, he can kind of guide us and point. But the real work, the real straight up comes when we realize, holy smokes, I really do want to say no to myself. It's like when you start asking with them some of these desires and you go, oh my gosh, yes, I do. I want that. And then the whole playing field opens up. The whole opportunity for supreme happiness. Like when we really admit, okay, Jesus, is there a desire below my level of awareness to deny supreme happiness to myself? Okay, will you show me where those denials are, that desire, that itch to deny supreme happiness to myself? And he'll start talking to you about, okay, look here, 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 and here. That's effortlessness. So many spiritual traditions talk about effort. He's offering the miracle, effortlessness. It's the argument with the miracles that's the effort. You can ask him, Jesus, in the light of divine being, is the argument with miracles the effort? When we feel tired, let's just ask them. This is a good one because a lot of times fatigue comes up. Let's just ask them. Jesus, is fatigue denial of miracles? He reminds us in a course, reminds us miracles are energizing. You're like the Energizer Bunny. You can just keep going. Because you're powered by God instead of holding down and stamping down that the infinite light within, the play in consciousness. And we can all see this, how it just becomes absolutely exhausting. Like he says, you can tolerate only so much pain. We start to see as the mind clears of these denials, how really, and beings have said that, oh my goodness, I feel so exhausted. We're finally seeing how exhausting it is to keep up the ego maintenance plan. How much work that takes. That's a dead investment. Jesus, that's dead. So this is a really beautiful quote here. And I see it. I like just starting from, we talked about yesterday about starting from scratch. Like, Jesus, I don't even know what love is. Like, no idea. Start naked. Like, I just don't know. Because of the conceptual idea of love. Jesus, do I have a conceptual idea of what love is? So we need to work with him so he can deconstruct that, help us deconstruct it, because we want it badly. With outside of supreme happiness, that means that we want to have a conceptual idea of love and a conceptual idea of what happiness is, the future happiness. Things will get better when conditions change, happiness. The future happiness. The happiness when I was sitting on the beach 10 years ago. The happiness at this exact Thanksgiving feast. That happiness. And we can ask the light, is that true happiness? So let's ask Jesus, Jesus, will you show me, like, not even know what happiness, like have no clue. It's best. That's the light. Is it best to be clueless about what happiness is? And hear the light. Yes. As soon as you have a clue about what happiness is, that's not it. It's death masquerading as happiness. Happiness is undefined spiritually. It can't be defined. It's spiritual identity. It's identity. But we can ask Jesus about it. He says, you think of happiness as an emotion that you experience. Happiness in the sense of union with the Father is what is. We can ask the light that and just hear it directly. Jesus, is happiness what is? This is why these assignments, these are so essential by the Spirit. The ego plays like the assignments of Jesus are sacrifice. Jesus, let's ask him, Jesus, do I have a desire for your assignments to me to be experienced as sacrifice? I'm willing to see that differently. If there's any sacrifice left in there around your assignment. So that's the entire play of consciousness, is to make perfect happiness seem impossible. You can ask the light that. In the light of divine being and honesty of God is the play of consciousness to make part of the play to make happiness seem elusive or impossible to sustain. That's the play. Then we could admit it. All right, you're right, Jesus. I don't want supreme happiness. I want other. I don't want my identity, which is happiness itself. So when we follow the assignments, it denies the denial. And it's just an opportunity to be carried by love, our true identity. But if we keep denying those assignments take you right to the recognition that you are happiness itself. You're just kind of tooling along going, wait a minute. Happiness is not a future state. Happiness is what is. It's totality. It's all that's given. We can ask the light that. Is happiness all that's given? We can ask Jesus, Jesus, do I want to deny myself supreme happiness? Do I have a desire to deny myself supreme happiness below my level of awareness? He says the desire for choice, the desire for two, is the immediate descent into misery and desolation. But we can have him take us right to that point. Say, Jesus, okay, show me where that desire is for two. And show me that no matter how much I want two, I can't, it's impossible. In the light of divine being, it's two possible. The light doesn't know two. It doesn't know one. Isness, does isness have a number in it in there? Infinite light of being, can we find it? It's not, is the light identified with a thought, a feeling, or emotion? When we look, we can't find that. It's impossible. Happiness in the sense of union with the Father is what is. It's a state of being. It is not something that is given in exchange for the idea that something is happening or something will happen again in the future. Let's just ask Jesus what our beliefs are, our desires are relative to happiness Jesus, do I believe happiness is something that I earn? If I do something right, I'll be happy. Do I have that desired experience below my level of awareness? Do I have desire for an experience in which happiness seems elusive right now, with the little hope that it will be happier in the future? That's even a trick on the spiritual. If I'm really good and I'm really spiritual, I could be happy in the future. The only salvation is to see that happiness is now. That there is no future. Happiness doesn't know what future is. That's really the key. In the light of divine being, does happiness itself know what a future is? Does happiness know what a past is? Jesus, do I have an idea below my level of awareness that something has to happen in order for me to be happy, to experience happiness? This is all the play, the denial of happiness, the desire for experience of happiness, elusive in the future. That's the play of the limitation. That's the story of limitation. It is being, which is synonymous with who you are. Sameness. Sameness is infinite, unchanging light. And see, until that's like admitted that the light is here, the unchanging, we'll just die a million deaths a day. It was so interesting. So many times I thought Jesus was talking, when he's talking death, he was talking death of a body, until you see it's death to the light. It's trying to kill the light out of awareness. This is such a beautiful quote from this chapter 12. God has no future plans for you to be happy, as you are created as happiness itself. Jesus, am I created as happiness? Ask him. Am I created as perfect happiness? Am I created as supreme happiness? Does Jesus ever say no to that? We can all hear Jesus tell us we're made as supreme happiness. He says anything other than supreme happiness is dreaming. We can ask him, Jesus, is anything other than supreme happiness the desire to dream? It's really helpful when that bird lands in the heart. The bird, the voice within, like, yes, lands within our heart. Happiness can't be somewhere else. Can happiness be anywhere else in truth, in the light of divine being? Why wait for happiness when it is already what you are? That's a good question. Is the light requesting us to, is it like has a little stop sign going, okay, just wait a little bit longer. Hold on. It sets a little timer, and then you cannot be happy until. It's helpful to see that, really, that the light doesn't have a little egg timer. You're done, you get to flip over. That's a play in consciousness. See, the play in consciousness is it's going to try to set an egg timer every 5 minutes so that there's no end to the egg timer. Not done yet, Jesus. To try to hold the light, which is impossible to hold at bay, because the light's still here, just shining. Like, it's so adorable too, and we're joining, and someone's talking to Jesus, and something like this comes up, and they go, and we talked about Jesus laughing. They can hear him laughing, and when we're really mad with Jesus, and then I said, well, okay, what's Jesus doing? And they're really angry, and they look over, yeah, he's still there. Like, we look over and he's still there. That's how the light is. It's still there. Even though we're like screaming and yelling, and the light's still there. Is the light still there? And that's when you start seeing, okay, this is insanity. Jesus, you're absolutely right. Emotions, like all other forms in this world that arise out of thought, need merely to be seen as untrue. So let's ask the light. This is really helpful because there's a lot of play of emotions in spiritual awakening, seemingly. Crying, screaming, yelling. Yes, I'm familiar. But we can ask the light, is these necessary to express all the emotions? We can ask the light. The light doesn't, is the light sitting there going, you got to express all these? I can't find a way for that to be true. We do have to see what's under the driving force for them. Ask the light, Jesus, are all emotions desired experience? So he's just reminding me, it's not the release of the emotion. It's the miracle releases the desire for the emotion to appear. That's why it's the fastest way, because you're going directly for the desire with Jesus, with the light of divine being, to look at where there's a desire to deny happiness, essentially, to deny supreme happiness. In the diversity of ways that consciousness plays, and why Jesus is so essential if we want a fast plan. The speed up, he's saying, lots of ways to get to spiritual awakening. With the power, the infinite power that's being provided through the light coming in and going, let me show you where you really don't want to be infinite. This is not to suppress. This is not a course in suppressing emotions, but it's also not a course in indulging in them. See, the ego's plan is that we can ask the light, is emotions are indulgence. 99, I'm going to see if Jesus, 99.9% of the time, they are indulgence in a pattern. I'll just say it. Jesus, shoot, no, he's not saying no to that. Ask him. So it's not to judge them if they appear. Just see that they're a desired experience. Ask them, Jesus, can a single emotion appear without my desire for it? Not a one. No emotions can appear without the desire. So this is just a clue that we can look with him to see where our desires are. So this is not to suppress them. This is to see through them with the one who knows. And that's a really strong belief that emotions are the release. They're not the release. Yeah, we even have to ask Jesus what the release is. The release is the willingness to accept the miracle. And we don't even know which miracles we're denying. We can ask the light that, Jesus, do we know what miracles we're denying? We don't even know when we really need a miracle. Ask them. You can ask the light that, I'll tell you. So that's why this really direct, deep work. What's most helpful? What do I need to see? Look at it directly at the desire for it rather than to say, I feel mad. It's, I desire an experience of feeling mad. I desire it, so that we're taking it back to where it's arising out of, which is desire. And then just ask them, okay, can you show me what's under it? And you can see it in some of these videos that have with Marguerite and Teresa, and how he's just working with us to just go and release those desires and then tell us when the miracle is. It's not, he doesn't deny miracles. It's really, feels really important to say that. Jesus is never denying miracles. He's just showing us where we're denying a miracle to ourselves, where we're not quite willing yet to accept the miracle at a deep level, deep down in the subconscious mind, where those desires are playing underneath our awareness. See how quickly emotions collapse when brought to the light within. And you can do this with any emotion. You can take any emotion that appears and place it in the light of being and see how long it lasts. And you can ask him, Jesus, can any single emotion outlast infinite light of being? Just placing it in infinite light. It's like my niece. She put that, her upset right in the light. What happens in the light? It melts trouble. Emotions persist because of the desire to keep them, to hide out there and not go deeper to see what's generating them, where the power plant is below the level of awareness. See how quickly emotions collapse when brought to the light within. See how emotions amplify with an investment in a storyline. You can just look with Jesus. Jesus, do emotions amplify with investment in a storyline? We can ask him. Ask to be shown the desire and beliefs that underlie emotions with willingness to be shown that they do not exist. See, there is no harm in experiencing them, that they are miscreated to experience a world of other, yet without changing what is already perfect and whole. You start looking deeply at emotions, you'll see they're long-standing patterns of withholding love. Now you can experience emotions and they'll eventually extinguish, but that's a very long way to do it. Take a lot of time for that. You can ask Jesus about it. He'll tell you. It'll take told me directly, it's a slow boat to China. When you look with him, the desire is going to be where the emotion is generated from. So there's really not harm. He doesn't judge anything. He's just offering a really quick way to release these things. Know that whether or not emotions rise, you and your brother are innocent. That's beautiful. So you're still innocent. Even you're crying, they'll be screaming. There may be all kinds of things. He's just saying, just know this need not be. Don't judge yourself for it. Oh my gosh, there's an emotion. No, he's not like that. He's just saying it's like see it as a little signal to call me over. That's what he's saying. Just seeing that's an opportunity to call me over and for us to have a fireside chat. And just ask me, and he'll tell you which emotions, or you're hanging on to something, which emotions are like a little release. Is this a release, Jesus, or I'm kind of hanging on to something and not willing to kind of peek under the hood with you? Know that whether or not emotions arise, you and your brother are innocent. Trace emotions to the source within and see that in no case can they prove you're separate. That's the gig. Jesus, can any emotion prove that I'm separate? Can they convince an emotion, convince the light that the light's not here? Is the light experiencing emotions? Just see that he's trying to point to what he's saying. All emotions are either emotion of love or fear. Because the mind can only relate. That's why to a conceptual idea of love. Because it likes to make that love limited in some way. But let's ask the light of divine being, is love limited in some way? Love is unlimited. And I could see that over time too. Like you could see the addiction to the hit of an emotion. The addiction to the hit of being angry, addiction to the hit of crying, the addiction to you can just ask him, he'll clarify this, he's not going to judge it. It's just to be in awareness where the addictions are. You can ask him, Jesus, in the light of divine being, are emotional states addictions? And he'll tell you, you can hear it. It's part of the addiction. Trace emotions to the source within and see that in no case can they prove you're separate from all the love God has given you. And that's a really beautiful thing too. When a strong emotion's arising, just trace it to source. Just say, I'm just going to follow this. You can do it with a thought as well. Thought seems to arise and go, what's the source of that? And follow that all the way in and see how it cannot prove that you're separate. And ask Jesus. That's always a good source. Jesus, in the light of divine being and honesty of God, can a thought prove that I'm separate? Can emotions prove that I'm separate from infinite? It is your joy to see that every thought, feeling, and emotion can instantaneously be burned by the light of truth, the light that you are. I just asked Jesus, are emotions part of the play of weakness? He says yes. Unless they're releasing, of course, that they can express as release. That they can really be such a distraction from not really wanting to look. And that's why he's talking about don't have the storyline. It's going to be way faster to go. I'm feeling this. I desire this. What's under it, Jesus? It's going to just be faster. He's just offering a fast means for us to look really quickly. It may seem like a step to let emotions arise. It's always about the purpose. What's it for? Is it to see what is true or to preserve a sense of separation? And so you can ask them whenever emotions arise, what's the purpose? Emotions can serve the purpose to keep the story, or with willingness, release it to see what's true. This may seem necessary at first to experience emotions as a release of deep hidden guilt or uncover beliefs. See that I have no judgment in emotions or stories arising or anything else of this world. It is your function to see no error. I will only point you to what is always true. The power you have is granted by the Father, the power of infinite light within. So he's always going to point us to light. He always points us to light and helps us uncover the nose to light. That's all his function is. Regardless of what appears in form, your salvation is already assured. You have merely to cease to deny it. Jesus, in the light of divine being and honesty of God, is my salvation assured. Is all the love of the Father mine? What a beautiful conversation to have with Jesus and hear him tell you right in your heart that all the love of the Father is already here. That no story has more power over the Son of God. Ask Jesus again, Jesus, do I have any storyline desires to have a story to feel powerless? To experience myself as less than wholly whole and complete? And just have those little fireside chats with Jesus. They're so precious. They're so loving. And we have all these reflections coming in our brother at how, like Jessica yesterday, oh my gosh, you can hardly talk about that. You know, that comfort that comes in that leaves you without words. That leaves us without any words, to be speechless. And so loved by God. To be the happiest of the happiest of the happiest of the totally happiest of happy learners. With each other. Loving each other like all the way, straight up. Hashtag supreme happiness. Hashtag supreme happiness, and have that one thought. Hashtag supreme happiness. It's the only hashtag worth having. And let Jesus trust your brother, trust Jesus. So the song in your heart that God has given to us just sings, and that's our only function in joining, is to sing in our heart and have that brother listen for God's voice and speak it. And to ignore any other sideways machination that can appear in consciousness. And keep joining and joining and joining. Join. Join in truth. Join to look at those it's so fast. He says this is so fast to look with him at that surgical precision of the denials. Okay, Jesus, we're in. We're in for supreme happiness, and tomorrow we'll have at 4:00 that session where beings are going to Joker movie where they would sit with Jesus. Everyone set aside their money to buy him popcorn. And have him tell you directly, have his interpretation, like leave everything else out, every other thought outside the movie theater. I love that with Muji. He says, leave your ego in your shoes outside and just walk in without a clue. That and a course lesson is good. Apply it unsparingly. Apply the course lesson if necessary, but really, if you go in there clueless, without an idea of anything in there, and let him show you the innocence that you are through that movie, what a deal. Thank you, Jesus. So much love. Thank you for joining and jumping on this call and for your beloved joinings. Amen.